So let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Jumoke, the secretary, was trying to welcome us and inform us that African Food Research Network is an NGO that is registered in South Africa, but our operations spread across the countries in the continent of Africa and also to the other continents of the world. We are not affiliated to any university or institution, but we are open to collaboration with research institutes, universities, academia, government agencies, and all organizations that believe in our cause. And what is this, our cause? Our cause will be shared with us at the vision, at the slides that contain our vision very soon. But before then, I would like to run some ground rules. Please do not put on your video unless you are asked to do so. And this has to do with the to allow everyone to enjoy the network. You are muted to allow the decorum. Please remain muted till the question and answer session. All comments are welcome, and we implore that we all respect each other's opinion. The session is recorded, as you may have seen, but it shall be sent only on request. Session extracts shall be sent to our mailing list, for registered participants, so that you can follow the narrative of today's session. You may not be able to pick up everything, but sitting down with the commentary, will add value to whatever it is that you have gained at today's session. All right, our moderator is Isi Guzoro Onyozeri. Dr. Isi is a food sensory scientist, a graduate of University of Pretoria. He's an expert in product development, sensory and consumer insights. Yeah. He is a key investigator in many international projects. He is an author and reviewer, especially when it comes to consumer studies. I don't know if Isi is in the house already, but in case Isi is in the house, this is the point where I hand over to him. Dr. Isi, please confirm for me if you are in the house. Okay, maybe Isi is struggling to join us. Whenever he joins us, I will hand over to him. But in order not to waste precious time, because I know people are busy, and I wouldn't want us to disturb your So the vision of AFREN is to become an effective platform for collaborative expression of the science of food towards enterprise development and livelihood through African foods and projects. Our objective is as stated here, and you can take your time to read the objectives also on our website, www.afrenet.org. How do we operate? We operate by working groups. And I'm going to get to our working groups just now after this slide. But you can take your time to check our website also for these different working groups. Some details are there for you to see so that you can make your choice of the working group that you would like to join. If you want to send us an email, please feel free to send us email at our email address that is being shown on this slide. We have the country coordinators, those that coordinate AFREN activity in respective country. We are still looking for coordinator in some parts of Africa. Please send us an email if you are interested, or to find out if your country already has a coordinator or not. AFREN working groups. We have 10 working groups in AFREN, and these are as shown on our slide. Now, not to waste our time, there will be a link that will be sent at the end of the session so that you can see the different working groups and choose the one that you want to join, based either on your interest, your passion, or your training. The theme for today's session is enterprise development. I want to look at it from the perspective of food scientists and agribusiness professionals, which these are the areas that connect many people in AFREN. And so, to do justice to this, we have for today a discussion titled Enterprise Development and Agribusiness for Local and International Markets, Data, Research, and Collaboration. We also have a pep talk that will be on bioprocessing and bioremediation strategies for wealth creation. After these two important parts of today's session, we're going to also give you some information about AFREN. Stay tuned. While we are getting to the next slide, please get a cup of water. It's going to be an interesting session. Let me introduce to you our resource person. Benjamin Adeneye is an alumni of the Oxford Advanced Management and Leadership Program of the prestigious Said Business School, University of Oxford. Ben holds an HND in Food Technology from Yaba College of Technology, Lagos, and a BSc in Applied Accounting from Oxford Brookes University, UK. He's a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. So we have in him a personality that understands where we are coming from on both sides in terms of the science of the food and also the business, building a business case around research findings. He's a financial advisor, business leader, and professional accountant. His background spans retail and commercial banking on providing top-line interim CFO services to small and medium-scale enterprises, financial advisory services in hospitality, agriculture, manufacturing, energy, and power sector. You can see that he has an array of experience and also clientele. All right. So Benjamin Adeneye runs a consultancy service, Berek Benjamin and Coban Limited, registered in Nigeria and also operating in Ghana. Benjamin, you are most welcome. The way it's going to go is that I'm going to also give an introduction of the second speaker at today's session. Then have you present first, then the next speaker will also present, after which we will now go to interactive session. Then we will ask our questions. Then we have an interaction so that we get a good understanding of the two presentations. The second resource person for today is Dr. Grace Ijoma. Dr. Ijoma worked as a senior lecturer in biotechnology at the Pearson Institute of Higher Education for over 8 years, where she taught undergraduate students a variety of core subjects such as cellular biology, agricultural science, biotechnology, industrial and environmental biotechnology, and bioethics. And Pearson is actually a private university in South Africa. Prior to that, she had spent over 6 years working in various biotechnology-based industries, such as agricultural feed, pharmaceutical, fruit juice manufacturing company, and the list goes. At least 14 postgraduates, honors, masters, and PhD. In research projects, she designed with the goal of providing solutions for industries and the environment relevant to the sub-Saharan Africa narrative. It's our pleasure to have Dr. Ijoma and Benjamin Adeneye to guide us through and share their insights on the theme of today's session. Without wasting any time further, I hand over to Benjamin Adeneye, who is going to take us through a bit of notes on the subject matter. The way we design it is that Benjamin will give a background information, a generic information about turning business ideas and research findings into business ideas, and be advising us on how we can go, actually take that from embryo to a product on the shelf. So Dr. Ijoma will now come up to use our own niche to give an example of how we can then use the foundation and insights that Benjamin must have provided, and we can use it to kind of manifest what today's team is trying to inspire in us. All right, so Benjamin, I'm going to stop sharing this slide, then I'll bring up your own slide, then you speak through it. Are you ready?
Thank you. I am ready. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right. Good afternoon, Benjamin. Give me a minute. Let me look for your.
Good afternoon.
Good. Please let me know if you are seeing this the slide, if the slide is showing at your end.
Yeah, loud and clear. It's loud and clear. Yes, I can see.
Okay, and you can see. Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay,
yes.
Let me put it to presentation mode. Then you can start. All right.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin Adeneye. It's a pleasure to join this important session to discuss enterprise development, agri-food and agri-food business for local and international markets, data research, collaboration. And I think the perspective we are bringing to the table is more from the financial advisory and investment. Basically, who are we? We are Berech Benjamin and Cobham. We're a specialist advisory house out of Ikoyi, Lagos, Nigeria. We also work across West Africa. What do we do? Our business focus is primarily in 3 areas: advisory, fintech solution, and structured trade. The bulk of our experience sits around the advisory business, where we've worked with companies within the agri-food value chain over the last 8 to 9 years. Just a bit background on myself. This is my 22nd year within the finance industry. Spent about 15 years within the banking industry, the various sector, for starting out my advisory house. Now, my focus this afternoon, my thoughts are in 4 areas, basically, in terms of research black box, execution gap, integration gap, and collaboration asymmetry. This I have to draw from my experience in the field over the last couple of years. Also drawing from my experience, focused primarily in commercial banking, where we've worked with agrochemical companies. We've helped to finance setup of agrochemical. In fact, the only agrochemical company in West Africa. We finance it through one of our international banks. And some of those experience, this is where we've encapsulated our thoughts. First of all, my thinking around the research black box is simple. There are a couple of questions in terms of what use is data if it does not benefit the value chain. From my experience, a lot of participants and players within the agri-food business do not have the data they need to execute on the scale they need to execute. Very importantly, the focus is for agri-food to develop to age where our products are standardized and able to cross international borders in the world. And to do that, you need data. And that is one of the things we have noticed. If the data is not available, then it becomes a problem in terms of what kind of outputs they are putting for. And sometimes, how current are these data? How do you validate the data? For instance, in some of our project execution for specific international clients, we struggle looking for data around the per square meter value of agricultural land between different locations and how to set up the comparison across some of this data. Next question is, how do we validate those data? So in this instance, these are some of the issues around research within agri-food business value chain. Also, who is gathering the data and for what purpose? Most times you have primary, you have tertiary data, and the reality is you have different entities within the agri-food value chain gathering data primarily for use within their private venture, which is good. But there is, but these data are not available to others within the ecosystem, and that is a problem because you cannot validate some of these data. Then how efficient are these gathering, and what are the impacts of this gathering? Most times, data on another thing to also look at is data on investment across the value chain. What do we know? What don't we know? For instance, when you have intervention funds from chain, there are different strata. Most times, you find that the investments are focused on a specific segment to the detriment of some form of analysis on the spread of the impact of this investment. You will realize that the focus is on certain areas and not on the bulk of the small holders within the agri-food value chain. So these are our thoughts around some of the conundrum within the research black box. The next thing we look at, next thing within our thought process is execution gap. And this is something we've seen over and over again. Execution, which is where you put that data together, plus the resources, human and capital, deployed to produce products across the value chain. Principally as an African focus session, the goal is how do we stand out that whatever our produce is, what our product is it standardized? Can it cross international border? Are we able to produce effortlessly, deliver the right quality, the right standard, and move to be exported to anywhere else in the world? Our experience shows there is a major problem when you begin to put all this together. But most times you have, even though you have companies operating in isolation and within the value chain, it's in most instances, the data at each stage of these processes are not available. So a business entity setting out will literally work with what it can gather and move forward from there. Do they have the capital available? Do they have it in a way that is sustainable? Because that's the second thing. And that brings me to financial gaps and reach limitation. Earlier, I was talking about how investment deployment, whether it is support funds like funds specifically targeted at improve agri production to support growth of agri-food businesses within the value chain. What impact are they having across the value chain? Most times, the focus are always around only a segment. And this is where the financial gaps comes in. The much bigger, smaller holders or middle holders don't have access to the necessary capital to reach where they need to reach. And that's where rich limitation comes in, because you have a deployment of capital that is not reaching what in a different balance is called the critical mass. Secondly, what is our optimization of all this? Because execution is about putting all this together. Are we optimizing it to produce better? And how efficient are the deployment of most of these resources? And a third force when it comes to execution gap is also policy execution, where either politics or some other basis comes into force in terms of deploying resources. An entity going into a specific business will not have 100% of the resources in it. It will need support from the state, it will need support from the advisory, it will need support from the banking. Now, from the bank, so it will need support in terms of capital, whether it is debt or equity. So the third force comes into play when decisions that are meant to be optimized are not optimized because of a thought force designing or moving towards making decisions that do not benefit the standard that we're aiming to get. My third thought sits around the integration gap. The question is, how do we take all the data within each of these value within the whole system, from input to production to customers' feedback to most likely suppliers' feedback to even feedback from financials or advisors? How do we integrate all this feedback into a loop, or what we call a deliberate feedback mechanism, where you can continue to iterate and get better? Can we create an integrated loop from data to execution? So that in a way, it's literally a process optimization. For instance, a company that is yet to come into the market, part of their strategic direction is where they create a Facebook page to try to get a sense about the nature of their product and all that, so that they can begin to get a feedback on what they are doing and use that to begin to optimize, or in a simple language, refine their process, refine their output. And you have a loop that keeps getting better. And that way you produce standardized products that can cross international border easily. Because the data from feedback helps us to create better solution as we go along. It is literally a continuous process optimization. Usually at this stage, you want to invest in certain software to help you in analyzing some of these things much better. So these are our thoughts when it comes to the agri-food enterprise and how data research and collaboration works. Our last thoughts here sits around collaboration asymmetry, because it's something we've noticed within our experience as a business and working with partners across international borders to deliver solutions in different countries. Most of the players within the value chain, include whether it is regulatory, financial, or even the core agri business, it's not that they operate in isolation. There are some level of collaboration ongoing, but it needs to get better. We have to be able to create a 360-degree view, be open to collaborate. Basically, we should be able to collaborate with companies who do not necessarily look like us. An agri-food business should be able to get input from local advisory houses within their locality, especially when they start looking for data or information about market, because that is their specialization. And this collaboration gap or collaboration asymmetry is a problem we need to, or in my thoughts, it's something that we need to bridge, where we have more detailed 360-degree view collaboration between the regulators, between the financial sectors that support the agribusiness, between players within the agribusiness value chain, be it primary producers, be it the logistics, product handling and delivery, be it customers' feedback, so that you have a 360-degree view of everything within the system. And we are able to produce products, we're able to provide services that matches or are at least international standard, and those products are able to cross international borders. We've got so much potential in Africa that's go places. These are just our thoughts, and we are open to questions at the end of the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for making it brief, and you actually spoke within time. You manage your time very well. So let me check in the house if Dr. Ijoma is in. Dr. Ijoma, if you are in, please let me know. Okay, so that I won't be looking for you. Please let us know. Dr. Ijoma, are you in? Okay, she earlier informed me of her struggle of getting a connection. She was having issues. Okay, in that case, the floor is open for questioning. Since our next speaker is not available at this minute, please, the floor is open for interactive session. I have a question. If I have 3 questions, Benjamin, and I would like to start quickly with this one. What is your opinion on professional groups raising funds for enterprise development by forming a cooperative?
Thank you, Dr. Dola.
I'm sure you've not had that before among your clients.
Well, I am a bit familiar to some extent with some of something like this. It's not what we encounter during the normal runs of our operations or businesses. But I guess the reason why professional groups gather is to create a critical mass that allows financial institutions to deploy capital through them. It's really not there is really no negative side to it, in my opinion. As long as they stay true to their core business and allow the financial institution they are dealing with to do and execute the financial aspect of what the funds are meant for. My only concern will be when the groups tries to morph into an advisory function and all that. They are not. That becomes a competency issues and all that. So those are my only concern. And because
let me take it further. Sorry to cut you. Let me take it further. Let me put it in perspective so that you know the reason why the question was asked.
Yes.
Most often than not, professional groups like AFREN, like Institute of Agri-Food, scientists of any country, or food science and technology profession in different countries, when we come together and talk about issues, we focus so much on criticism of who is doing what and why they are not doing it well. Meanwhile, we have the competence to do it well. But usually we tend to withdraw, because we feel that we don't have the funding to do it right. And we always blame government, that government is not providing the enabling financial environment to be able to do that, to venture into enterprise development around agri-food value chain, which is our core competence. We understand the science, we know what should be done, but we don't have the fund, and we rely on government that is not responsive, and so I was thinking, would it be a bad idea? We buy shares in food companies as individuals. Would it be a bad idea if we come together, pool our resources together, maybe over a stretch of 5 years, we start contributing into a pool managed by a financial advisory company, who knows where the vision is, that, okay, this is the idea, this is the product that we want to start making at so time, at so targets, and we are putting this money together like a savings a pool that, okay, and in the next 5 years, it will have amounted to this amount, and with that amount, we can start the enterprise, and dividend can start coming from there to our purse, depending on our equity inside our pool. That's what I'm saying. That will your company be able to, first, do you buy into such idea? Then, secondly, would your company be able to provide advisory services to such a group?
Thank you, Dr. Doba. I see clearly your thought process around the question and what you're looking at. There is no law that forbids specialists in this field pulling resources, capital, human together to create that kind of ecosystem. Like I mentioned earlier, what is important is for us to recognize specific competence where our strength lies, and then be able to bring others in who have specialist strength in managing finance and advisory role as well. So totally, I agree with you. It's something that should work. I think that also brings me to a thought within my head about how much of research is being done in Africa daily, weekly, over the years, that most businesses don't have access to. I talked about, they don't have access to it. So those research are gathering dust somewhere. We need to get to a stage where we can monetize research, make it easy to access. You see, I think that's where the core advisory functions will focus on. How do you make this easy for people to access? For the guys in the village producing potatoes, for the guys in far-flung places producing this produce, that produce, do they have access to the latest research? Okay, well, do they have access to it in a form that they can understand? That's another thing. The simplification of detailed work to a form that an agribusiness entity anywhere can understand and see value, and the monetization in a way that is not too expensive, because we are living in a world where scalability is the key. And if you are using technology to distribute and you can monetize without it being too expensive, you will find out that you are able to get value for research that has been done or is being done. So yes, I agree with you. That's something that specialists like us needs to get involved with. Yes.
Oh, you have addressed the point. All right. Also, without wasting much of our time for that, I see Dr. Ijoma is in the building. So I'm going to just allow her share her screen and get into our presentation straight away. I've introduced her, I've read her citation. So with that, she can just fly in. Dr. Ijoma, please, can we have your audio to confirm you are ready for us?
Thank you. I'll step aside here.
All right, yeah, I'm still coming back to you with 2 questions. Yeah. Hello, Dr. Ijoma. All right, Dr. Ijoma is sharing our screen.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute. It's a bit of with Zoom, I struggle a lot.
Yes, yeah, you told me. Your place is Team.
Yes, Teams is what we tend to use more at UNISA.
Okay, all right.
Okay, I'm so sorry. You would notice that I was using a new laptop, so it meant I didn't realize that Zoom was not yet uploaded onto it, so I had to.
Wow. Okay, I saw that earlier today.
Yes. So my other laptop just suddenly decided to crash. So I really apologize.
It has served you enough.
Yeah.
Talk to us, Dr. Grace.
Okay, so I am presenting on bioprocess and environmental bioremediation strategies, an opportunity for wealth creation. And I'm sure, as you have said, you have been introduced. I work for the Institute for the Development of Energy for African Sustainability. So basically, our prime focus is research.
Can you put it on presentation mode, please?
Okay, let me try to do that. Thank you. Is it fine now? Are we good now?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. So our major focus is on alternative energy. Before I went to work for UNISA, I was a senior lecturer for roughly 9 to 10 years, officially 9 years on paper, where I taught a variety of subjects, including cellular biology, agricultural science, biotechnology, industrial biotechnology, and actually food technology for quite a while. And then after I completed my postdoctoral fellowship, I have now taken on doing research as a senior researcher, but with a target focus of omics technology in industrial bioprocesses and environmental mitigation and remediation. So, but what I do very well with most of my projects is the fact that I try as much as possible to make sure my project targets commercialization and hopefully industrial processes that easily valorizes and we can get something out of it. This is because I have worked in several industries, so I am not a pure academic, for want of a better word, and I think I have included some of the industries that I have dabbled in, both in Nigeria and here. Actually, I came to South Africa on a training with Parmalat, and then when I went back home, I started my relocation process. So I have worked in pharmaceutical, brewery, vitamin premix, fruit juice, canning, and then wastewater treatment. Yeah. So the way I started out this presentation, I felt like for me, the niche area is biological entrepreneurship. That is trying to exploit our understanding of biology, and in this case, also food biology, towards turning them into biological processes that necessarily can become industrial and be used for multi-purpose. And the entrepreneurship activity is where you can actually look at your niche area or the specific product and be able to see how you can actually get activities of business around it. Obviously, it involves taking financial risks as well. One of the things I must mention that has served me as well is that it is very important that as scientists, we need to identify our niche. We need to be comfortable within the position that our niche expands upon. So within that niche, it doesn't also end with identifying your niche. You need to look at the specific niche that has to do with the products and services that you are capable of being able to take to the next level of business and enterprise. So I also decided that I should separate it because I have had the privilege of both now going into entrepreneurship and being an entrepreneur or working towards that, and then also working mostly as a consultant and earning money. I think there was even a time that I wasn't actually lecturing and I was doing a lot of consultation. And that allowed me to see that we as individuals on our own are products, and you look at yourself, that perspective that you are a product, the actions that you take and the processes that you involve yourself in.
Sorry, Dari, please, hold on, Doc. Doc, hold on. Dari, please help me locate that person and mute or remove the person that is causing interference. Thank you.
I was writing. Yes.
It's Mohammed Nura Yakubu, please. Yes.
Dari, are you not in the house? Because I'm hosting this side, so I can't do that. Okay. Just hold on, Doc. Let me find the person. I think we are good now.
Okay, so it's also seeing yourself as a product, but in terms of scientific products, I think one of the major things is that we do a lot of research and development, and of late I'm finding out that that counts for a lot. And even it's actually when you are preparing a, how would I put it? If you're preparing your business proposal, most business proposal actually want to see the duration of the research and development when you are dealing with technology, and it actually helps them to even see you as bankable and the project itself as bankable. Then in terms of scientific products, many of us, while we are doing the research and development, tend to develop patents. Usually, my advice is that patents should be done with collaboration with the university. I remember when I submitted my first patent, and most of my colleagues were like, no, but that means that you are ceding your entire IP to UNISA. But I said to them that I require at least R1 million for the process to go forward for us to be able to produce a prototype and buy the equipment that will be required. I know that one of the equipment that I am using, the HPLC, was solely bought for my project, and it costs close to about 1.3 million. I couldn't have bought that. So it is necessary that within the understanding of patent, you must be willing as scientists to seed, especially your first work. Always understand one thing: the brain that produced the first idea will produce many more. What you want is to establish yourself. And then I remember in that conversation with one of the researchers, I did mention that 70% of nothing is nothing. If you sit in your house and you stew with the idea in your head and you don't have a prototype, at the end of the day, the commercial people want to see something. So use the structure of the university where you are working to develop patents. Be willing to share with them your ideas and the IPs, and probably possibly they help. And through UNISA, we were actually able to reach the point of prototype. We were able to propose and get funding from DSI, TIA, and that's how we were able to go forward. Now, most times also in commercialization, you must understand that you would usually require transdisciplinary collaborations where you are using engineers, other scientists, even accountants, business analysts, people. Also be willing to understand and find your own network. Somebody will introduce you to somebody, and that's how it will keep going. Do you know an accountant? I now have 2 accountants that I have MOUs with and NDAs who are willing to say, we will help you because we can see the project and you will pay us retrospectively. But for now, we will help you. And this is very crucial in writing business proposals that are bankable. We as scientists are incapable of writing good business proposals. Our brain is not, we are right brain, they are left brain. So I think even that understanding should tell you that it's going to be a difficult thing. So you need a very good accountant, you need a business analyst, you have an economist, and be willing to sign MOUs with them. I think it also shows that you respect their professionalism enough to know, I am using your services right now, but I'll be able to pay you once I am at this point on it. Then the other thing I need to mention around product is that most times, once you reach the point where you actually have a product, please don't sit down and wait and hope that your university would actually help you to market your product. You also now need to start going out and looking for investors, actively take ownership of your work. Because yes, the university has signed a patent, or if it's the other one, because there are 2, there is patent, there is utility product, and I've got both of them. So this is not the platform for explaining the difference between the 2, but there are 2 different ways of approaching it in terms of legality. So there is the patent, but most times the university signs a 70-30% agreement. You will think that somebody that has signed with you 70% on the output of this particular commercial idea would go out of his way. But unfortunately, the university is not designed to be business. So they will sign it on paper, but you need to do the running up and down. So you may begin by approaching banks, which I have gone through that whole process. Some banks, when the idea is really bankable, some of them would actually introduce you to venture capitalists. Some of them would even help open up their network or even tell you where you can get peace funding. What I mean by peace funding, small fundings like the one in Finland, the one in Denmark, and all these other ones that are targeting Africans and development of product ideas, which we can open up, and I can then send maybe the links of those ones. I also still talk to my professors, and they also send me those links, and then we push and we apply. If you know of this project that they did, the Bio2What project, you would realize that even the seed fund was actually given to them by the Bank of Finland, and it's part of their own outreach to African countries. So those type of funds are available, and banks are usually happy when you can show that I've got 250,000 euros. It means that somebody sees your technology as worthy and is willing to have given you that money, even if it went towards just prototype development. Then banks are more willing to say, we're going to come out and help you in that direction. Then that was talking about products. Then in terms of you as an entity, and these days I get very happy when I'm signing MOUs and I say, I, Dr. Grace Ijeoma, standing as my own person. You as an entity, you are a consultant, you've got so much knowledge capital sitting with you. You can actually partner with people on projects, help develop specific areas of your work. So for instance, like with Dr. Adeboye, we've done some projects where I've actually brought him on board and said, please help us. This particular portion is food processing. I don't have a clue of it. So you come in on such. You could also, during research and development, be a collaborator. Now, when you are a collaborator, you can't be paid for collaboration. However, if there is a patent derivative or there is a product that is developed, please be sure that you force them to give you a clear contract that shows your contribution and to what extent, so that even within that 30% they are sharing, they will have you noted on it. So that's why I said, know the difference when you are serving as a consultant and when you are serving as a collaborator. Usually in collaboration, it's usually during research and development for new technologies. Consultancy it's an established technology. We are now rolling it out to market. So you then need to then determine how you're going to be paid. Are you going to be paid at the end of the project, or are they going to include you? Is it going to be equity sharing and so on? But those are the things that you must make sure you have. And please don't be ashamed. I first started out as very shy. Then when I started realizing I was being exploited, I learned to speak up for myself. You are your own advocate. So you reach a point to tell people, okay, you can't pay me now. Sign a contract that you pay me retrospectively. So at least you have those in your hand. So when it comes to enterprise development, because we are all scientists here, like I said, the only thing that concerns you is identifying and evaluating the opportunity, which relates to your science. Please, the rest of them, it's not your business. You need to find people to help. Develop a business plan, find a business person. Determine the resource required, talk to business people, and then they would help you. The point I have reached, I've been able to extend my network, find those people, and most of them, definitely, some of them would do it and be willing to go ahead. Some will say they want you to sign documents with them and all. Implementation and management, be ready to give up your project and understand that you went to school to study science, you did not go to school to study business. So bring in the right, how would I put your tribe? Right now I have my tribe that I've been using for most of the projects. We used to work as lecturers together. She decided to go to work for Alexander Forbes. So she advises me on that. The lady that does my accounting was also a friend of hers. So through her contact, I got that. So that's how you build your own network. So you can, then you have people who help you, who read documents with you and tell you, here is where they're slapping you, here is where you need to adjust. And I've been very grateful for that help with my lawyer friends, because some of the MOUs and MOAs I've signed in the last few months have been because she had really read through and found the loopholes. So also here again, this is the steps involved in enterprise building. Yours is you select within most of us as scientists have many projects. You need to then find the one that you can see that is viable, feasible, and the one that immediately makes money. So those are the ones you need to look at. You look at the turnaround time. So you would have a lot of projects. Like for me, there is biodiesel, there is biogas, there is biomining. But right now, the focus is biogas and valorization of sludge to produce that. So that's what you keep preaching until you get the investors on board, and then they begin. The rest is not your business. It's also learn to trust your network or make sure you have ironclad MOAs and MOUs. So that's how you can approach that aspect. So in my own niche, I know that the topic said I should also look at it. The very first thing in trying to develop enterprises and is to understand the fundamentals in that particular area of science. So in my own case, it's environmental, biotechnology, and bioprocesses. So our premise most times is that we are trying to find catalysts. So, and it's because we understand that many industrial processes are chemical reaction driven and energy dependent. So if we have that, my goal in most of my research is trying to find biochemical catalysts that work. So I am looking at a broad range. We bioprospect, and I'm lucky enough that I've got at least 15 students right now that are working on a variety of projects that I developed with them. So we would look at plants, we would look at animals, we would look at algae, bacteria, and fungi. With regards to biogas, it's a consortia, and we will get there, we'll talk about it. We are looking at the consortia of microorganisms and being able to develop good active microorganisms that are viable to be used in biodigesters and will effectively work for yield development. Another area of research that we look at is when you finally find the microorganism or the organism, you are looking at increasing yield, and that's where you begin to talk commercialization. So I want to increase the yield of whether it is the enzymes, whether it is the gas, whether it's the diesel, whether it is me being able to extract more precious metals from the ore or from the mining industry. But that's basically how our research is targeted. So we also use chemical and environmental engineering to improve our approaches when it comes to utility product development. So these are existing products that have already, they are so old and tried and tested, so you can't patent them. And many a times, even when I started my biogas discussion with some of the investors, they kept telling me, don't you want to put IP? I'm like, I can't IP a 100-year-old technology, but I can tweak it around in such a way that I have a utility product that I have been able to improve, and that's what I'm selling. So yeah, so this is, like I said, these strategies we sell to companies to develop enterprises around them. For us in bioprocessing, there are so many opportunities. Right now, we have projects in cement and built industry that we actually submitted for patent. We've got work in clothing and textile that some of our students are working on. We've got mining that we are already working with Anglo America towards actually sponsoring the students' research as part of their community social responsibility and all. And then there are pharmaceutical products also that I'm working with Dr. Kala. Then the energy sector, which is my primary focus. So the bioprocess allows you to just look at various processes and begin to see how you can assist in developing around that. Then the other aspect is the environmental biotechnology, and this is where it even cuts into food technology and food processing, because we are very much, in fact, it cuts very deeply into food technology. And this time that people are talking the circular economy, you know, that we are trying to make sure that within the niche that we create, that we are able to use everything and actually produce things from even the waste so that, you know, we make more profit. So all industries, particularly food industries, generate waste. And the beautiful thing about the waste generated by the industries are the fact that in your own industry, it is organic. And that's, yay, it's good. So this waste can then be valorized. So, but it requires research and development. I'll give you an example. So Westphalia approached my research unit 2-3 years ago, and they wanted us to look. They are the largest producers of avocado and exporters of avocado. So we had to find a PhD student that was willing to work with Westphalia. Their goal is that they've been trying, they've actually tried in-house, and then that's when they realized, let's go to a university and see if they can do our research and development, because we are clueless. So theirs was, they want to see how they can use their waste, their various streams of waste, to actually produce biogas. And hopefully when they produce enough biogas, they can then make themselves independent. They will be able to produce their own electricity in-house, and maybe even do what is their name, BMW and Mercedes did, where they are producing 4 kilowatts of electricity and using 2 kilowatts, selling the remaining 2 kilowatts to Tshwane municipality and making money out of that. So that was their big ambition. But now who did we task? So we tasked one of my PhD students, and we've produced a lot of papers in that direction. But at its core, that's another thing I need to mention. When you are wearing the hat of an academic and you are wearing the hat of you're wearing a hat of an academic and you want to go into entrepreneurship, you need to have a balance. You need to know, what can I publish and what can I keep to myself that I actually give to the company as the technology that was derived after 3 years. So that's the balance. So, but at the end now, we have submitted a business proposal. They actually assisted us in writing it. We are now in the process of talking to banks with them for them to use the technology that was developed around biogas for their own project. So we are hoping that we'll be able to help them in that regard. So that's it. So there are 2 major areas for us in environmental biotechnology. So what I have just described is biobeneficiation, which has to do with us looking at the waste and converting it to energy. Another example is, like I said, the work we're doing with the mining industries and looking at re-extracting metals from waste. Then there is bioremediation, where we reclaim land. And I think there is a project around that with CSIR, where we want to effectively look at how to remediate soil and water and get to the point where it can then be reused for other projects. This is also a project that is very dear to the heart of the mining sector, and they are actually putting up funding for it. So I gave some examples of companies that have been set up around bioremediation and environmental technologies that are running. And all of these companies, I can tell you for a fact, obtained some or all of their funding from DST and DSI. And let me say one thing, there is this meeting we attend with DSI, and as a foreigner, I actually brought it up, and they told us, they said, here is the one place where xenophobia does not work. If you write a good project and we see that the money is there and you tap into a particular, we will fund it. Why? You will be creating employment for South Africans. You will be doing the.
Can you tell us what DST and DSI is, so that people can then
it's Department of Science and Technology.
Right.
It's Department of Science and Technology, Department of Science and Innovation. Here is technology innovations of but you take them step by step. But whichever one you go to with your idea, if they feel like they are not the right people, honestly speaking, they don't throw you out. They literally hug you, because I know if it comes to how we are treated, I think those three arms, they are very amenable to scientists. Mm-hmm. They literally are amenable to scientists, and yeah.
And their funding is there a problem with your slide? I can't see your slide again.
Is it still showing?
Yeah, it's now back. Okay. Go to your second to the last.
I'm done now with the slides. I think so okay. I am at the point where I said thank you, and then you can ask questions around what I have discussed.
Okay, good. I have penciled down a couple of questions, but I would like
can I stop?
The secretary to please.
Do I stop sharing?
Stop. Yes. Yeah, you can stop sharing. Yeah, Abimbola, if you are okay now with your network, can you read out the question that we have for the last speaker from the group chat? Okay, if you are still having issues, let me just take that up. We have a question Dr. Beatrice, are you able to speak?
Yes, I
Please kindly speak to your question so that in case you need to create further.
Okay. My question is just has to do with, I'm looking at three perspectives that are interwoven and depending on each other. My question is, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, because I was going through my mail yesterday and I saw this news from FAO that there are going to be facing serious food shortage in the country, and we are talking about research and development and going into food business. So I was looking at, yes, the fact that looming food crisis is coming is good business prospect, but I'm looking at the huge cost of investing in production and development in Nigeria, which will eventually result into high cost of your food product after developing it, which may likely also lead to low patronage from consumers. So my question here is how can, what kind of research can we food professionals go into as we sort of these problems, food shortage, cost of production, and low patronage from as a result of poor economic standards of most families? Am I able to communicate?
Yes, I think our first speaker should be able to advise us with regards to that question. Then we will now look at it from science point of view.
Okay.
Benjamin.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Beatrice, for the question. I was going to say I am not a research luminaries like most members on this platform. So I was going to refer to the second speaker, but you made part of your questions related to finance and capital and focus. I think, first of all, if we're trying to get into getting into an agri-food business, we need to have a little bit of data around what are the needs within the market to drive home what we want to do. That's one way to look at it. Another way, a second way to look at it is to look at our own competence within our core competence and say, okay, what do I produce within my core competence that I can feed into the market that there is a demand for? It's either you look at the gap in the market, which is what I described, which is what my first comment is about, or you create a product that you can feed into the market. Now, both approaches nestle on capital. What kind of capital do I need? What kind of other resources do I need? And when all this come together, am I competitive? So to get or to understand the competitive side, you have to look at similar products in the market. What rate are they going for? Your target should be, how do I undercut the products in the market? How do I produce in a way that is cheaper and establish them in the market? Because that is what you call a market entry strategy. And also, you don't necessarily need to play in the biggest market. The question for you is, where is the nearest market? Because that might be where your first set of cash flow will literally come from. So you have researches in across the value chain, whether it's product research, market acceptability research, then the core marketing research, then you also look at sales. How do you distribute? For some, you get all the other metrics right, and then you get to sales, you cannot find, or your distribution is not optimized. So distribution takes a significant cost when you add it to your product cost by the time you are getting to marketing. And that makes you uncompetitive in the market. So you have to do your research in terms of across the whole value chain. So in terms of your distribution and all that, then do you appoint distributors, or do you want a demand pool where they come to your factory to pick it up, or you want to use a push strategy in terms of pushing your product to the market? So different things applies. So
thank you very much. Thank you very much, Benjamin. I think you've really given us insights with regards to that question. Let me just add 1-2 things. Number one is the importance of data, just like you also mentioned, but I'm going to add a little on it, that we gather data for in order to be ready for situations like this. Then when we come together on any platform, professional platform, we for instance, this should be a front burner in every professional platform that has to do with agri-food field, in the sense that there is a looming food insecurity, that is likely to happen consequent upon Russia-Ukraine war. And one food product that is vulnerable is going to be bread, because data has it that Ukraine accounts for 10% of wheat supply worldwide, which means that wheat is likely to go up and there may be shortage of material to produce bread, which means that, and we all know that bread is a staple in sub-Saharan Africa. That's much I know. So I'm thinking that this should be a front burner in every platform that agri-food professionals belong to start looking at it from business point of view now. That okay, we already have COVID has brought collaborative technologies that we can lash on. For instance, logistics is no more problem now with technology. Distribution has been taken care of our neck. All we need to do is to get the product ready, alternative to wheat. And we have done a lot of research on gluten-free bread, composite bread, and the likes. So this is the time that whether people like it or not, consumers wouldn't have alternative other than for instance, cassava wheat bread will start selling when that happens. Are we positioned to cash in when the opportunity comes? Otherwise, the people who are not professionals are going to cash in because they are looking at it. They are thinking through, and they are the one that will come to people like Benjamin to assist them, and boom, they are in money because they are always ready to take advantage of opportunity. So what I want to add to that is that Dr. Beatrice had thought well to say that alert should concern us. And going further, we should start discussing these and forming our network, just like Dr. Ijoma said, that find your own network. Professional bodies are already a network. To trust each other and come together and form an enterprise is the issue. Is the issue that is very difficult, to break. When you start such discussion, you just find out that people find it boring and they pull away for the fear of, maybe this one wants to take our money or that one wants to take our money. But we need to start trusting each other as professionals. Since we have consultants like Beret Benjamin, who could stand as an independent entity that is going to manage our interests as professionals. That would be my thought with regards to that question. Thank you. If we have another question, please, Bimbo, you can help us share it, or let me quickly check. Or Dr. Gracie Joma, you want to say something concerning that question before we go to the next?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. I think we've covered it well enough.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, now I'd like to ask my question to you, Dr. Ijoma, before I come to you, Benjamin. That Dr. Ijoma, you said that it's very, let me first say your presentation is quite inciting. I almost didn't have question because you covered every of my questions. So I started striking them off, the ones that I've written down, because I could see the answers. So thank you so much for being resourceful. on the topic. But I see some answer. You mentioned that it's a good, it would be advisable to use the university structure, that is for those that are in the academics, to use the university structure to develop prototypes. I have in the house, in the building here, directors of entrepreneurial centers of higher academic institutions, so they can relate to this question that I want to say. Most often than not, the such center, such entrepreneurial research center or entrepreneurial development center of institutions are not equipped with relevant professionals. You did mention that such centers need an economist, they need an accountant, they need such people who are business oriented, whose thinking is around the incline of business and all that. So they could get you running quickly with your ideas. But then most institutions are usually lack these personnel and professionals. What most institution does, from my experience, is that they just put people from admin. They just put people from admin who have civil servant mentality to populate such center, and they don't give you the needed professional advice that you hope for. In such a situation, what would it be? Okay, would you advise that? Because I was also thinking, would you advise that one suggests in your letter, your proposal to such a center, to kind of consult an outsider or personnel, professionals that are from outside, to collaborate on that particular proposal to develop such a prototype? Would it be an advice that you would give to us to take, and why? Thank you.
Okay. I hear you. You can hear me?
Yeah, yes, I can hear you, and I think.
Okay. So I know that nearly all universities in South Africa has what they call the technological transfer offices, the TTOs. So I don't know whether your institute has it, but the way we work in UNISA is, so I develop my concept, it gets to the point where at least I have the whole, what they refer to as a whole network of the idea on paper, clearly stated. Then I approach them. But most times they want the entire research and development. And sometimes you actually go to the technology office, which was what I did after my PhD. Took my project through my supervisor to the technology office. We sat down, they brainstormed with me. They brought in their own lawyer. They brought in their own business analysts. Their business analysts actually did my market research to actually ascertain that the product I want to put out is actually going to work. Unfortunately, she has since passed on, but she did a very brilliant market survey internationally, and she did global and then she did national, and she submitted that. All I had to contribute was this. She actually consulted. There is a big law firm in Pretoria. I'm forgetting their name now, but they're actually the only ones so far that I know of that she worked with. They also have in-house. So UNISA paid them. And then they actually took my idea, then sat down. By the time, I remember when they brought it to me, that's when I realized that I don't belong in this league, because the market starts, I was like, where is all of this coming from? And that was me fresh out of a PhD. So when they reached that point, then the thing was, what are your limitations? And then they did their critical analysis of the business. These are science, people who have like a first degree in science, then went into law or business and patent law and all. So they did their own, they really did what Mr. Bengu mentioned today. They crushed it. And then they came up and told me that, okay, at this point, we want a product. Then I told them, these are my limitations. We don't have a HPLC in-house. I cannot send my samples for sequencing overseas, because that already would mean that my patent has been divulged. So on the premise of that, UNISA bought a sequencing platform and bought a HPLC. So, and it was motivated not by me, but by the technology office to the department. And that's how then I was placed in the group of engineers to help me to take my product. And that's when I understood how transdisciplinary. I went from an environmental scientist to working with engineers for 2.5 years. only helping me to develop my product, doing the optimization. I was also now helping them in doing the biogas work. So it was more or less a quid pro quo. At the end, we initially had 1 patent, we ended up with 3 based on our interactions. So I know that UP has that. I know that most of the other universities have. At even a point when we were struggling, we actually brought in a consultant from Northwest University. I would remember his name is like Dr. Pretorius or something like that. He's also a scientist that he now told us, I'm tired of working as a scientist, I want to make money. He actually takes projects, even in the ones from Northwest, to China for development. He works with them in the small labs in China that already have all the press to run a particular and produce a small prototype immediately for market. That's what he does for his university. So UNISA brought him in to assist. So I think that exists. Then alternatively, if that is not the case, if you take your nicely written proposal using the template of DSI and then submit to DSI, DSI is bound by non-disclosure agreements, and also they won't take your idea and try to, it's really unethical, they won't. So once you submit to them, they will do that same thing. Most times they might even refer you back and come back to sit with your university and then have that conversation around it. Because they know that process of R&D is very expensive for an individual, and it's where
that's why you need the university.
Yes, they lose hope. So, but at that point, when we had reached that point, now where I got stuck was, now we have the prototype, now we have the patent. Can we move forward? And I'm talking with these people and I'm seeing that they are not able to even begin the process with me. So I talked to 2 of my friends that are working in EOL, and they are business analysts in EOL, and that's how we started. And they told me, they gave me a sample of a business plan and said, follow this, we will help you here. And then when I did that, that's when we started moving forward in that direction. So even now, I am literally going to go through the process and then come back to UNISA and say, by the way, my patent, now we want to develop, take your 70%, but if I don't, they will sue. So you will still run around and then still come back to the university if they had financed you at the beginning, unless they are not financing you. And most times, in my own field, it will be very difficult. I need the technology and I need so many things that I can't afford at any point in time. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. You've done justice to that, and I'm hoping that top executives of higher education institutions in Africa are listening. We're also going to put this on our YouTube channel for them to view with a view that, okay, they would understand how it should work if it's not working like that in their institution, or if they are not staffing very well, and to even realize that there is nothing wrong in collaborating with consultants who are specialists outside. They don't have to be your administrative staff, because this thing needs competence, and also for our young ones that are coming up in this profession, if they find themselves in such position, they will know how better to run such an institute or technology transfer institute within academic institution. All right. So I'd like to ask another question that has been placed on the chat for you. Please, can Dr. Ijoma throw more light on consultancy and collaboration, the difference? Thank you.
Okay, the difference is when research and development, remember that we as scientists, it always starts with the research in the lab. So for instance, if I as a scientist, I'll give my own instance, I'm working on enzymes, right? And I reach the point where I need quantification, or I need to use an instrument in your lab, or I need to do some analysis that I found out that your lab works on. When I come to you at that point, we will then do it. Most times I have learned to balance my world, which is publication must flow while research is also going on underground towards the thing. So it's knowing what you can publish. You do know that when it comes to patenting, then there are some information you can't put out there, and then there are information that you have to put out there. So, but anyways, that balance is there. Now, when you work on such a project, we are collaborating. Now, when I finish, and then now I have a product, And then we want to take it to the market. And for instance, I now realize that I need an engineer to help us in the optimization. This is now, when you are helping somebody write a proposal, it is not a collaboration. If you are bringing your work in, that's what I've just been told, it's not. But what you will do, and I did it for many years, that's why I know. I kept helping people write business proposals, and then at the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. What you must insist upon if you are going to be part of a business proposal, that means we are no longer talking science. We're not talking how we're going to make money. Is they must sign you an MOU that indicates that you will be retrospectively paid. In other words, if it's you, you know that you do some free work and you pray, tomorrow it might yield. At that point you are. Then for example, also maybe a company, which I've also been privileged to do, a company wants to develop a product and then they ran into the problem. This one was more recently. The colorants they were using was banned. So they needed to find an optional colorant. And my student is actually working for this company. So the student came to me and said, ma'am, I'm using so-so colorant, but now they are saying that it is bad. What can I use as an option to replace it? These people want to make money. They are not doing research. They want to make money. So they must pay you. That's how it works. So that one, you are a consultant, they must pay you. So you then build them according to SatNaps. You are supposed to build them. And then if it's really deeply intellectual property, then you can have that conversation. And most times, to be honest with you, business people are chancers. So they want to work in science. They know the minute you bring it up, they will then try to either say, let's pay you per hour for your consultation, which comes according to SatNaps, you will be sitting at close to 2008. So it depends on how long you're going to actually do the so
70,000 naira.
So you are looking at 2,800 as SatNap, as a member of SatNaps, or even if you're not a member of SatNap, that's how much they should pay you for your hourly consultation. So once the person it's a business proposal, it's going to the banks, and I need help, we want to start up a business, we just need you to help us to write this part of it. That is not you doing collaboration for a research and development. That is you doing consultation.
All right.
So
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Okay, so quick, I would like to add this, that what you have just said goes to it ties with the essence of this session, to sensitize countries that, African countries, and their representative in this session, to know how about best practice around this subject matter. For instance, South Africa, SatNaps is South African Council for Natural and Agricultural Profession. They regulate competency of natural scientists such that nobody gets cheated for his or her expertise. That's a level playing ground already, which makes a society balance very well in terms of professional competency. I wish that other countries that doesn't have this kind of structure will start seeing it from the value that it adds to the practice of a scientific profession. And then for scientists also to start productifying their expertise. It is not a crime to make money from your scientific expertise, because many of scientists look at it like it's a taboo. They look down on you if you are talking science and money at the same time. They look at you that you are going to compromise. That means you have compromised. If you identify with money, if you feel that your science should bring you money. We seem to be so comfortable with salary as a scientist that, okay, if I work as an academic, or I work for a research institute, if I'm paid my salary, I should be okay. And that's why business people chance us. They ask us questions and we just offer the answers. And just the little answer that we provide, these people go into their factory, go into their hiding, and they make a lot of money from it. Dr. Grace, you are a victim. I don't want us to talk to that story here, so you can relate to what I'm saying. All right. So I would like to also take the question of Prof. Professor Akinwande, one of our member of our advisory board at AFREN. the type of consultancy that your student does, how is the school involved? I think you have answered this question. I must have missed it, but Dr. Grace have addressed this, how the school get involved and how it's operated. I'm sure Professor Akinwande can then send for if this has not been covered, she can send something further to me so that I can pass it on to you, Dr. Grace. Yeah, Prof, is that okay? Or is that of us? We are like, that's your friend that seems to get tired of talking science alone and wanting to make money now out of science. I think I'm at such point too that science should be commanding some dollars or some naira or whatever at this stage. So that's why patent doesn't seem attractive to me. Because, and I'll tell you why. Patent takes a lot of time, and it needs a lot of professionalism that we struggle with in many parts of Africa. So if my product or service seems to be a target for a particular African country where they don't take the issue of patent seriously, I'll be wasting precious time and standing the risk of losing my idea and losing the opportunity to make money quickly from my idea. And rather than going through the route of patenting, I was thinking in my head, I would rather just go towards the collaboration route. What would be your take vis-a-vis the risk involved in that route that I'm hoping to take, and the opportunity or advantage of it? Thank you.
Okay. Patent actually is a protection device. That's the one thing that it that question. I keep using the word student. He's graduated. He works now. He's in charge of research and development for an Australian company here. So, but he still takes my mentorship and is doing his master's with me. So we interact a lot. So, but in this particular one, they actually found a product that is originally from South Africa, but was patented. I actually was the one that read the patent document and told them the patent has expired. So it's now full season. I think that was one of their happiest days, and paying me was something they were very glad to do, because even the lawyers didn't check the date. And I'm like, this patent only subsisted for 10 years for the owner, and he didn't renew it. Did you find any other one? They said no. I said it's season, it's open season. In fact, you can copy the idea. Do you now see? Because when you submit that patent, you actually have to put. So I'm like, in fact, you can copy everything this person is saying, add this new product. And so they were very happy. So, but you see that is how it protects you. The second thing about patent is that when you are going to collaborate with other scientists, at the end of the day, we are our own worst enemies. Because some scientists, it's not all, have this unethical behavior where the minute you start discussing your ideas with them, they can think as you are thinking, and then they think, I can do it. And before you know it, your idea is out there. So what you must do, which I only learned now, and that will help your situation, is the first thing that you sign before you even sit down with people, and you can find a standard document online. Don't be shy to sign that, a non-disclosure agreement.
Even if it's my best friend.
Even email. What idea? Send them emails explaining your idea and check the timestamp, so that whatever goes, if they now produce anything, this is what you produce in court to say, look, this was when I started this conversation. It has really, like you said, I have been a victim. And though I won the case eventually, but it took its toll. It took more than 4 months in court before they finally pulled out and paid the damages. So, but it was my tracking, keeping emails, and this is within a university. This is actually within a university that I had to go through this to try and prove this is my intellectual property. Now I no longer work for you, but you're still going to be making money. Would you give me part of the money? No, you are working for. I said, no, I didn't agree to that. This is my documents. We signed this. I did not give you my intellectual property. I said you could use the material while I am working here. So eventually the court agreed with me. So sign NDAs, sign MOU. And if, in fact, anybody who refuses to sign those things with you, you should already know that, like you said, we don't trust each other and we can't blame ourselves. It's what everybody has experienced that is making it difficult. But when those ironclad documents are in place, explaining and expanding on it, then you can, and you don't have to pay a lawyer every time. Yeah. Although I think my lawyer is a very good one. She made a template of 2 different ones for me, and that's what I now use. I just change a bit, send it back to her. Then she just charges me at the end of the month my retainership.
Good,
so
good. Yeah, thank you for that advice. I will take that home. It's very useful. And this pleasantry, I must read it to you, Dr. Grace. Thank you, Dr. Grace. The information is very apt and appreciated. It is really an eye opener and timely. One of the participants in the build. All right.
Thank you. So, I'm humbled. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. So, Benjamin, this question is for you. That you mentioned that you mentioned the word equity, and I understand the term to an extent. But this is my question. I'm coming from a background that background knowledge that researchers and scientists don't make a lot of money like that they could wholeheartedly or single-handedly go into business venture easily unless they have saved for it for a long time and all of that. All right. So my question would be that as our knowledge as scientists, the time we spend in bringing up, fine-tuning our research findings to make it look like a product that could sell in the market, and gathering data and all of that, can it come as equity? And how can we bring it into conversation with partners, with prospective partners or collaborators? And at what point should it come for? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. Well, very interestingly, I think Dr. Grace, in one form or the other, actually detailed some interesting response to this particular question.
Okay.
In the advisory business, the first thing is if you are bringing an idea forward, there's something called owner's equity, which are what we call sweat equity. And as a researcher, that is your sweat equity. The work you've put in, the man hours, every other thing else that you've put in to bring that idea to that stage. It's literally called sweat equity. Now, basically, how do you value that? Well, the process is to find comparison anywhere in the world and then apply some discount or some metrics in terms of, okay, what will this look like? So at that stage, it's we do